session is going to be on dynamic array functions, and also some two new formulas. One is so new, I don't think it's up to a month with LAMBDA. Then there's one that has been around for some weeks now, so that's let. So we are going to go through them all, but as usual, I need you to let me know, what's been your experience regarding the formulas I want to touch so far. So I need you to go to menti.com or this link. So I'm going to take the link on that box. So either you go to the menti.com and you type 9609 or go the link to fill the code questionnaire. Let's see if I can. So otherwise, you go to menti.com, and you punch in 96096440. So whichever you do, we bring you to this question place, and you're able to type in your question. Type in your answer. You can pick as many as you have used. So have you used LAMBDA before? It's a new formula in Excel. Have you used let? Have you used unique? Which of them have you used before now? So once I get maybe like 3 people submit their answers, and that will set the stage for my approach, my presentation today. Okay. Okay, so I'm waiting for your answers. Anybody's answer for showing yet? Awesome. So I've seen some answers popping. So I'm just, okay, so 2 people have submitted. If I get one more, that would be nice enough for what I need to demonstrate. So send a couple of reminders to some people. Okay, so I'm hoping I get one more. If no, okay. So at least from what I've seen, there's a pattern. It seems nobody yet has tried the LAMBDA, the let. People have used sequence and you've not used unique. Yeah, that's strange. Unique has a lot more, for me, I think unique has a lot more practical use than even the other ones I've seen people pick here as they have tried out. So anybody still trying to fill his own? Going 1, going 2, once I reach 5, I move on with the agenda there. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this forms the basis of how I'm going to explain what we want to do. Microsoft has released some new formulas, very recently, and I'm going to start with the ones that are kind of like I'm working backwards. So I'm going to start with, LAMBDA. LAMBDA is so very new that for some of us, you won't even see it in your own version of Excel. You have to be on what we call a beta version, and you have to be on the fast, what do they call it? The fast cycle of the beta like preview. You're able to see features that is not yet generally available. And so it's not on everybody's PC, but that doesn't mean that I should not showcase it. Whether you have it on your computer, on your Excel or not, does not mean you shouldn't be aware of what it does. So I'm going to showcase what it does. There's also let. So that's, more people should have let than the LAMBDA. because the letter has been around for some weeks now. Then there is also the other ones I put in the question. So let me just copy them from this using the same arrangement. So there's unique. So unique. Let me just track that. There's unique. There is filter. There is sort by. Sorry for I was communicating with my head with somebody here. Sort by. There is RANDARRAY and the sequence. So these are the formulas I hope to touch on, in the next 50 something minutes. So let's start with the lambda. So what is the lambda? What's lambda about? Let's see if I can pull up the official documentation for us. So those just joining, please help us fill if you can, help us fill this questionnaire. If you go to menti.com and then you type 960964, you should be able to get here. Also, too, you can go directly to this link that I have in the chat box, and that will help us. So whichever you do, we're going to be able to see your answer. So pending while you are trying to do that, I can quickly see if I can pull up Lambda Excel function. I want to show you, at least from Microsoft documentation, let's see, this looks like Microsoft links. Okay, so I prefer to show you from Microsoft links. Someone has submitted a user voice. Oh, some people have been asking for it. That's interesting. So people actually asked for the Lambda. That's awesome. I never expected that people would ask for it. Then I'll show you from Microsoft documentation also what the let function also is meant to. Let's see if I can show you even some examples too. So let's start with lambda anyway. Let's start with lambda. I hope you can see my screen. So this nicely captures the concept. Okay. Thought something was happening. But I hope you see my screen. Can anybody just confirm that you see my screen? So this you cannot see your screen.
Yeah, the one you're saying. You cannot see your screen.
I can see.
Oh, this is strange. Some people can, some people can't. What do I? Okay, I will just reshare. So let's see, maybe that will at least reset everything. So I'm going to stop sharing.
I didn't hear.
I'm going to share all over. So I'm sharing the screen all over now. Okay, so I guess it should be visible now. Okay, so okay, great. So this is the concept. I will explain, like I will practically explain, but I just wanted to understand, at least see. I like the way they visually colored it here. So instead of me stressing myself to talk and talk, let's first even let you see what it is. So you've seen this pattern, right? Now let's switch over to Excel and see how we are meant to use this information that you've seen there. So let's start with the lambda. And so now I want to demonstrate that. Imagine that in this table that I have here, that I am interested in calculating the summation of products that the quantity is more than 3. So I want to see what's the total in fact, let's start with something even maybe more practical. I want to know how many products we sold 3 or more quantities of, right? So you know that if you want to say, okay, products, let me increase this place here. Quantity, so count of products we sold more than 3 quantities. off. Okay, so let me just. So if I want to do this, right? All I'll be doing will be count if. I'll be doing count if, and my screen. I hope my screen is not going to lock. So count if in the range. So count if in the range. This range quantity, right? And then I say, comma, let's even say where we sold exactly 3. Let's say where we sold exactly 3. Let's even start with that. So how many quantities, how many products, no, let me rephrase. How many sales did we make on that day that the customer bought more than 3 of our products, right? So let me just, based on that, rephrase the question where we sold 3 quantities. Let's even start with the simple. Here we sold exactly 3 quantities. So count of transactions. So count of transactions, we know where we sold exactly 3 quantities, right? So this is a formula that most of us are really familiar with. Now, how can I use this to explain lambda to you? So I can come here and say lambda. So there will always be still a calculation in it. Okay? But then you know what? I want to make that 3 a variable. So I want 3 to be something that, well, it's 3 now. What if I want 2? What if I want 4? So that's what lambda kind of, this is me explaining my own way. There are many ways. I don't want to explain it the way you will have read online. So that way, when you hear me explaining my own way and you read it again online, I'm hoping that you get a more robust understanding. And if it's only my own way you listen to, hopefully you should remember. So remember what I've said, that normally there will be a formula. There is going to be a formula that you want to do. Lambda is supposed to build on top of the formula to give the user some kind of flexibility. There's a formula I do that I do a lot. I don't want to be typing it again and again and again, right? Why don't I just wrap it around a lambda that I can call anytime? So let's even go gradually. So this formula now, I'm going to say lambda. Then I will now say that 3. I want it to become a variable that my user can provide. So I'm saying, lambda x as a variable. You can use anything as a variable, not necessarily x. X is just common, based on what Microsoft already shared in the documentation. But you could use anything. It could be y. It could be, in my own case, it could be threshold. Just that, again, if it's too long, it's why use a very long name. So let's just stick with the x. So I'll call it variable x. So now that variable x, what value am I supplying to it? So that's what we are going to do. So x can be anything, but that x, I want it to represent 3 here. So are you getting the pattern now? So I want it that when you want to do count with this my count if, I want it to be dynamic, that it's going to be x that will be the quantity, x quantity. So I want to count if the product with the transaction, count of transactions where the quantity sold is x. Is it making some sense? So now how do I provide the value to s? Usually you want to use it in a named range, but you can also, for demonstration's sake, I can say 3. You saw the way I provided a 3 outside, and it will give me an answer, right? So I got the same answer, but what if I provide 2? So you might be thinking, why would somebody want to do this? Let's first understand, then we go after that, right? So what if I provide a number? So you can test it out this way. But the truth is that naturally, this is what you are supposed to do in a real life case. You are supposed to now copy this formula and then go to name manager. So I go to formula bar, I go to name manager, and then I'm going to now create a new name, and I'm going to call it whatever I feel is meaningful for. So I could say transaction count. So this transaction count, I'm going to dump that formula that I have written. So I'm going to dump it inside here and say OK. So once you do that, what will happen is that I can now call that formula transaction count. I can call it any time I need. So I can call it and say, you know what, I want to call that my count transaction count, and then pass it the number I want. I could pass it 2, and you see I get that value. I could pass it 3, and I'm going to get that 1028 that was there before. So this is the approach traditionally that you will use, rather than just writing it here and now putting the value for x in front. This is good for me to explain it at the first attempt for you to understand. But after that, you're going to be using it this way. So the question now is, why would I want this? Why do we want this is, if there's a formula that you do that is very long, so you have a formula that is really, really long, this can be a way of writing that formula once, and you can keep using it as many places as you want. So it's like a user-defined function. So let me try to do a different demonstration. Let's try something again simple, then we'll try something complex. So we all know that a rectangle. So area of a rectangle. Let's pick something we all can. Area of a rectangle. We all know that I'm going to need the length and I'm going to need the breadth, right? So let's say the rectangle has a length of 12 centimeter. Let's say this. Then maybe that's a breadth of 8, right? So now, if I do a formula that is meant to calculate the area for me, so lambda, so I could say lambda, and what do I do? I could say provide for me the length, provide for me the breadth. So let's just use L and B so that we don't. Provide for me the length, provide for me the breadth. And if you provide for me those two things, I will just do length times breadth. So are you getting it? So now, if I want to test it, I could just say, let's use it the proper way you would have used it. So using it the proper way will be me copying all of this. So you're not going to be typing it in a cell. It's me copying all of that and going to formula, going to name manager, and creating a named range that I'm going to dump that in, and then I'm going to call it maybe area. Okay, and I'm going to do OK. And then I could just say area is going to be equal to area, open bracket, length, comma, breadth. If I do enter, I will get the answer. Clear? So now, the complex side of it, or something a bit more realistic. Okay, so I want to create. So I want to create a way for the user to easily always specify what they want. So something like what I have here. So let me just modify. So if I want to create a formula that will be like, I need some if, right? But that sum if that I need, I know that my table is always going to be here. So that is what makes this a bit, uh, hopefully, something that you will find value for. So instead of me always providing all of the inputs all over again, I could just say, I know that in my sum if that I'm going to do, my table is always going to be here. I know that in my sum if, right, my table is always going to be here. So let's start with range. This is range, and then criteria is, whatsoever is here, right? And then what other thing? My sum range is always going to be here. So I know that these two things are always going to be permanently there. This, and this. Okay. Yes. And I will get what I need, right? So why will I want to now change this into a lambda? Let's see. So if I copy this and I go and plug it inside the lambda. So I copy this, I go and create name manager. Let me zoom. And then I go here and I say I want to create as a lambda. And I'm going to call this sales. I could call it sales if. Okay. I need to turn on my. I need to turn on my cooler. I'm roasting. I hope it won't give you background noise. I'll just turn it a bit so that the background noise will be there. Okay, so I now say that, okay, I'm going to create a function called lambda around this. And again, permit me to use x. So x, and what x will represent is the product you want to sum for. So the other time I picked a particular product. Here now I'm allowing the user to be able to use my function and put in a product by himself, right? So this is the pattern we're supposed to use, when we are using the lambda, always in a manager, in a name range. Okay, so if I do this, you will notice that it's done formula in there as a name range. Then what is the difference? So let's go check out the difference. The difference is that I'm trying to do this. I could have done this with some if and just pick the range of products, comma, the product I am interested in, comma, the sum range. And I close the bracket and I do enter and I drag down. Okay. Now, the challenge is that, say I am interested in just a few products. These products are somewhere here. Now, you will notice that if I copy this formula and I come in here and I paste, it's not going to give me the answer that I want. the range have changed. You could be like, well, I should have locked the range. Okay? So at least that is one obvious benefit of using the lambda. If I use lambda and I pick this, I will still have gotten the, sorry, if I picked, I call it sales if, and I pick this, sales if, and I pick this, I would have gotten the answer, right? And I could drag down. So let's go further. I have a different sheet. So imagine you are working in models where different sheets, Again, anywhere that I need anything. So I could have created a drop down somewhere. I could have write, oh, I need Mitza and I want to know the sales for Mitza. So what do I do? Equal to sales. Let me zoom my screen. Equals to sales in open bracket, pick the product, and boom, comes up. So it's a bit, one can argue that you could do without it. After all, we've been doing all of this without Lambda. But what I would just say is hopefully this should make some of what we do, that we use like 5 steps or suffer a bit, this should reduce it. And some people are coming up with more creative ways to use it. So first of all, is just be aware of it. Later on, how to use it in our day-to-day work will begin to surface more and more. So I can say that you are a bit now familiar with Lambda. Again, just to remind you, uh, it's always the parameters and then the calculation. The parameters can be one, can be two, can be and then what you want the calculation to be. Okay, so now that you have covered that, I took my time on that because it's a bit tricky. Even me getting to use to know it wasn't a work in the park. So I'm going to now go to the next one, let. So let is like you creating a variable. If you are used to Power BI, you can somewhat equate it to the var word, the Power BI. So let me look for what Microsoft wrote about it. So see, if I zoom my screen, you see that let allows me to specify, okay, variable and what value will be inside and then the calculation. Okay, so let's go try it out. Let's try something trivial. So let's do the same area of a rectangle but using let. So I say equal to let. Let me zoom my screen. So equal to let. Length is this. The breadth is this. And then my answer to be length times breadth. Again, you'll be like, oh my God, why all this stress? Couldn't I have just written length times breadth? You're right. Now let's talk about why all this stress. Like, where will this make sense? So if you have formulas where you are repeating things, so if I have a formula where, so I'll give you an example. If I want to find where I don't know which one I will end up using in this. So let us just create the problem first. So I want to find sales for pizza and Italiano. So if you want to do this and you want to use SOMI, so if I want to use SOMI, I will. So let's use SOMI. Let me on Zoom so you can see me. I will have to say SOMI. Some if product where it's equal to pizza Then comma the sum range. Okay. Then I'm almost like copying the entire cell again. I need to zoom my screen at this moment. So I'm kind of like repeating the same thing, but where the product is Italiano. This will get me the total. So this will get me the total of this, and this. To check it out, that is what I have tried to achieve. Okay. So what let allows me to do is if I have, though I don't think let will work nicely for this, lambda will work better for this one. So maybe I should just use this to finish off with the lambda. I could have just said equal to lambda, sorry, equal to sales if, equal to sales if mixer plus sales if Italiano. And I get the same answer. So at least this one helps me to explain lambda. The one that will make sense for the left is now exactly when it's exactly the same thing. So I'll give an example that I took off Excel jet. So kind of made some sense. So imagine that I want to, so I want to, like an if formula, if this value, this range is, so I will use an if. So let's talk about something like bonus, okay? Or let's talk about bonus. Okay, we want to see only records above uh, 4 million, no, 3 million. So I'm interested in picking only records above 3 million, right? If I want to do the formula, it would be if this value here is greater than 3 million, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then return this value. Otherwise, maybe return nothing. Okay? So this looks a bit straightforward. If I drag this down, I'm going to get, what I've wanted. But now, let's complicate it a bit. If the VAT on this, only if the VAT above a threshold. So what threshold should I? Let's say VAT is above what's 10% of this 360,000. So let's say VAT is above 200,000. That's the only time I want to, So if I try to do something like this, my formula is going to be a bit more repetitive. If the times 7.5%, that's our VAT rate, then you should do this times 7.5%. Otherwise, you should do nothing. And in some computations, things can be even a lot longer than this, right? So this is what I'll be doing. But then, if I know let, so how could I have achieved this with let? And then we can compare. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use let. So equal to let x be equal to this, or I could call it VAT. So let's use a more meaningful name. Let VAT be equal to this times 7.5%, right? Then I can just say if into brackets VAT is greater than 200,000, then you should display the VAT, otherwise display nothing. So you see that when you have a really long formula, this is not that much long, but then there are some formulas like sum product and the rest that can be really long, and you want to just abstract them into a variable so that you can keep reusing that variable. Then I will use this. I will use the let. So that brings us to where let is of some significance. So if I do this now, I forgot to close the second bracket, so I'll just accept the yes. Let me close it, and then you see I'm going to get the same answer. Let me get the same answer. Something must be wrong with this one. Let's check. Greater than 200. 1, 2, 3. 1. Okay. So I drag down. Okay, great. So you see we are getting the same answer. But if you check out the formula, if I check this one out, you see that it's a bit longer. If tomorrow you want to make changes, maybe as government have it in mind, you want to change back to 10%. You have to change it in two places, right? You have to change it in multiple places. So most of us who write nested if and those formulas that can be a bit repetitive, you'll find out that you will prefer to use let, because if I'm using let, I only need to change it in one place. I just change it here, and in all the other places that I'm calling up that variable, it will reflect that change. Okay, so that is it for let, and let's now move to the other formula. So I've taken my time to explain these two because they are really, really new, and the concept is also entirely new in Excel. And so I want it to be a case where I don't rush you. But now let's come to the ones that are a bit familiar to many of us, right? So let's talk about unique. We all understand what unique means, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to recreate this report you are seeing here, right? I want to recreate it. So recreating it, let's delete what I have here first of all. So if I delete what I have there, so I could just say, okay, I'm interested in getting the unique list of the products. So I want to get the unique list of the products, and I want to get maybe total quantities. And I want to get the sales. Okay. So how am I total of this house? In a very flexible way. Ready? Number one, I come here, I say unique. So I want to get the unique list of products. So I want to get the unique list of products. I select all of the products and I do enter. And guess what happens? The unique list of all the products, that's what comes up. That's what I've got in here. Let me just, here now I can put total, but let's even, Let me delete this space so that you don't get confused at all. Good. So I get the unique list of the products, right? But then, what's the advantage of this over using remove duplicates? Let me tell you the advantage. If a product name changes, so if a product name changes, we now have a mixer that is mixer spice. Can you see that it has increased here? I now have mixer spice here, right? So that's one advantage. Then I could wrap it around sort. So I could go here and tell Excel that, you know what, I need you to sort this for me. Sort it. So let me just zoom my screen. So I could wrap it in sort. That's, you see that I'm already now going to the next formula. Let me scroll a bit so you can see as I type it. So I could sort it. I could sort this, and let me just wrap it in sort and see how it comes out. You see, it sorts it alphabetical order for me, right? Now you could be like, okay, but what if instead of a name changing, we had a new product? So what if it is that we had a new product? We had a new product, new products. So we had a new product. I'm just going to grab figure for one particular entity and paste it. So we have a new product. Is my new product going to show in my table? Let's go check it out. Can you see new product there? No. My new product is not showing in the table. So what do I do? If I know that I want that flexibility, what I will do is in my original unique formula, I am not going to stop at 501. What do? I even say, you know what? Why don't you just pick for me the entire column B? Why don't you just pick for me the entire column B? So if I do this, let's see what happens. So if I do this, let me show you the answer. So can you see what has happened? Let me just increase the screen resolution some levels. The zoom of my screen. Let me delete this so it doesn't keep. You will notice that there are some problems. Problem number one is that, well, yes, I can see the new product, but I'm also seeing my header showing, and I'm also seeing a space, which is coming up as 0. So what do? I don't want it to come up with the header, and I don't want it to come up with blank. So what I will do is I will say, okay, you know what? Filter this my zoom. So filter these unique lists. So when you are filtering it, I want you to don't include records that are empty or is my header. So I will say, when you are filtering, I need it to be where B column B is not equal to, is not, you know how to write not equal to in Excel. It's not equal to my header. It's not equal to pizza soup, which is the header. And it's not equal to empty. Okay, let's first try this. It's not equal to pizza soup. So that's what I will now put inside my source. Let's see if that fixes one of the problems. I think I need to put it first inside. So I'm going to undo. I have this should be inside here. Filter R. So filter B R, where B is not equal to the header. Okay, so I think this should be the way. So that way, what goes into unique does not have pizza sold. So let's try it out. So you will see that the header is no longer showing. So my problems have reduced. So my problems have reduced. We have one more problem. The problem we have is that it's including an empty space. And why it is including an empty space is, when I did this, I selected entire column B. Entire column B means that there are spaces, which is good because if I have another new product, if I have Buhari suya, maybe this is a new type of pizza, right? If I have this, it's going to pop up in my, see, I'm going to have Buhari pizza showing. Can you see that it's already showing? Can you see that Buhari suya is already showing? Okay, so that is the reason why I selected the entire column. Unfortunately, it comes with a with a with a downside. It has a space. So what do I do if I don't want the space? Not a problem. When I am doing the filter, I will also tell it to filter out empty. Okay, so I can say, and please also where the record is not equal to empty. It's not equal to empty. Okay, I close the bracket. It's now looking like I'm chaining many things together. What did I do wrong? Let me just say it's not equal to 0. Let's try that. I'm just going to take this bit out, copy it, paste it somewhere here. I'm going to talk about the speed error. So pasted it, and I'm going to say equal to, let's see what comes out. Like my computer is freezing again. Okay, great. Okay, great. So, this is, I think I know what is happening. Okay, yeah, so I know what is happening. The hand is not sorry. So it's not a difficult thing to fix. We're going to use mathematics. So I'm going to say this times this. So to make life easy, I can put them in bracket. So that way it will be as if I'm doing hand. The main reason why I'm doing this is just to prove to us that we can. So see, so with that now have been able to fix all the issues without losing my dynamic. So if you add any new product, it will instantly pop here. It will not include any space. Okay, so now that I've done that part, then I want to, so we did those, I've done these three now. With that demonstration, I've done these three. Okay, so I want to be able to calculate my quantity. So we know quantity is going to be equal to count if. So equal to count if in the range of quantity. Quantity is going to be sum. Sorry, sum if in this case. Sum if in the range of the product. Then what I am interested in, I'm interested in barbecue chicken, and then what you should go and sum together the sale. Sorry, the quantity. The quantity is what you should sum together. So great. Let's go check it out. So this is the formula we all know. But you know what? Unfortunately, this formula is doing for only one. And if I drag this formula down, if things are just in my product, right? So if we no longer have Buhari Suya, you will notice that things go wrong in my computation. If I no longer have Buhari Suya, there's a space showing still for it. So it's not dynamic. If you don't, so I'm not going to drag it down. When you use dynamic array formulas, and you want a formula like this to pick it up, what I will do is I will select all of this. And you see that when you select all of it, it changes, the name changes. It changes to something ash, so which is now J2 ash or J2 pound, whichever you prefer. So what I prefer to call it, but you saw the change, right? So that is what makes it now fully dynamic, which means if there's a reduction in product, let's say we no longer have, what did I change the other time? I changed something around here that I think I called that was a product I gave a funny name to here. Let's go check it out. I think it was something spicy, pizza spicy. So let me go look for that pizza spicy and knock it off. And you will see what will happen. Did I go really far down? Well, not too difficult. Control F spicy. Okay, so this is it. I think I need to change my glasses. So pizza spicy is no longer there, right? And if I go back here, voila, it's no longer showing here. My formula still is able to know where things stop. It's not just expanding and contracting anyhow, right? My formula is, let me just knock off these borders. My formula is able to expand and contract, in tandem with the values. Similarly to if I do for amount, sum if the range, the criteria, I select all of these, changes to pound sign, and then I say the amount sold, and I drag down. I don't even need to drag down, I do enter, it's going to make automatically compute. Okay, so similarly, if things change, so let's go imitate change. Change is, we now have maybe 3 new products. One is live pizza. Another one is from barbecue. Then still another one is Biden Supreme. And let's say the last one is Shore Pepedem. Okay. if what we have done is truly dynamic, all of this should be reflecting in that other place. And the values too should be captured correctly. So let's go check it out. See, they are all there. Trump barbecue, Showore pepper them, then Biden Supreme, all arranged alphabetical order. There is still one more person I have not found. Live pizza. Okay, so this is what makes these dynamic array formulas really interesting. Then sort by. So let's even talk about sort by. Sort by, I can say I want to sort by, I pick a table. So I could pick this and say that I want to sort by which of the array, which one of them. Do I want to sort by the quantity? If I want to sort by the quantity, let me just do this FX so you see easily what my options are. So if I zoom, so you see what I want to arrange is the array. Then here, the range to sort by on. So this sort based on the corresponding range of, so I count actually, you count it. So I could be like, if I want to sort by the quantity, then that would be 1, 2. If I want to sort by the amount, so it to be 3. So let's say I want to sort by the amount, so 3. Then you want it ascending or descending. So if you don't put anything, it's going to be ascending. If you put -1, it's going to be descending. I want descending. Then you want to still sort by something else. I'm okay with this. So I'm going to just go ahead and do OK. And we'll see the effect. Save value. Let's check out what I've done wrong. Oh, I'm supposed to provide an array here. So I'm sorting by this array. Okay, and then I do OK. And voila, you see that it has sorted for me, but by what? By the amount sold. So now I'm having everything arranged by the amount sold. That is sort by. So we have done sort by now. Then rand array. If you have any questions, we'll soon get to the question and answer part. I can see the number has gone down drastically. Apologies if you are not enjoying it that much. Not my fault. It's the way these formulas are. So rand array. Rand array is like rand between. So let me just give us an example. Sometimes I want to generate random numbers, right? I do rand between 20 and 90. Okay? And you know what? I have to be dragging to, maybe I want this number of it and I want this amount of it. Okay? So what about rand array? Rand array makes this a lot faster. I could say I want random numbers that will cover, let's say, 5 rows, 7 columns, no, let's say 3 columns, and it's going to be between 20 and 90. And then do you want it to be a decimal number or an integer? Do you want, let me just zoom this. So do you want the numbers to be strictly integers or decimal? Let's take integer. Let's take integer. I do enter, and you see that's what pops up. So I have like a range, an array of random numbers. Okay, but as it is with rand between, it's volatile. It keeps changing. So that is rand array. That is rand array. Let us go back to the last of the formulas. sequence. So sequence is very easy to say. It's just me saying I want sequence of numbers. So sequence, I could say that I want 1 to 20. So 1 to 20. If I don't put anything, create a row of numbers. So something seems to be blocking the. Let me re-explain it. I want rows of numbers, sequence. So let's start with rows before I do a mixture. So I've gone ahead to do a mixture actually. So if I want 20 numbers, like 1 to 20, I could say 20, but I leave it in rows. So I'm not going to put anything in columns. And that's what I will get 1 to 20. Okay. But assuming that I want column of numbers, let me look for where I have space enough. So I could say that I want, 1 to 5 as a column equal to sequence, 1 row, but spread across 5 columns. And you see, it gives me like a sequence of 1 to 5. So that's what sequence does. And we have come to the end. Sorry.